Hi, this is my bonus video for the Atelier Dusk DX Trilogy on PS4, Switch and Steam. Thank you so much to Koei Tecmo Europe for giving me a review code for these games. Regarding the music in these games, I wanted to go a bit deeper into the soundtracks and what in particular makes this trilogy stand out from the rest of the JRPG crowd. Gust's soundtracks range from great to show-stoppingly incredible. Like, literally, I'm not exaggerating here, I've never played a Gust game with a bad soundtrack. When you first boot up one of these Atelier games, they might seem cutesy and basic at first, but as soon as you hear some of the variation they have to offer, you'll never look back. Crazy time signatures, a unique mix of organic and digital sounds, a contrast between intensely dark and super upbeat. Definitely not your run-of-the-mill RPG soundtracks. Each of the games have incredibly unique and dynamic music, but have their own particular style and instrumentation. The following analogy isn't fully accurate, but if I had to summarise each game with a very loose genre definition, I would say Atelier Ayesha is quirky folk, Atelier Escha Logy is mature jazz, and Shallie is kind of lively pop. Again, that's quite loose and inaccurate, but it just helps to differentiate the direction they took with the soundtracks. I mentioned this before, but my personal favourite is Atelier Ayesha's soundtrack, as it had a really distinctive style. There's an eclectic mix of what sounds like real instruments, ambient natural sounds and digital synths. So many tracks sound lush, layered and rich, which matches the floral nature theme running throughout the game. For example, the world map theme changes for each season, and most of the track names are flower themed. You also get the occasional track that harkens back to Gust's other games like Artanelico and Arno Surge, where there's suddenly a more glitchy electronic atmosphere. I won't go into too much detail here for spoiler reasons, but just know that there's a lot of variation in the soundtrack, and that's just Ayesha. For all three Dusk games, as I mentioned before, there's a good contrast between the dark, apocalyptic main storyline and the light-hearted, cute character interactions. This contrast is definitely reflected in the soundtracks. Ayesha in particular has an incredible balance of upbeat folksy tunes and fields and the world map. As well as intense, the world is ending, take cover, battle and field themes. Musically, it's probably one of the closest soundtracks to Gust's other properties, such as Artanelico and Arno Surge. Here's an example of the victory theme, Milky Way, which combines an ambient forest soundscape, synths, and gentle guitar strumming. Atelier Escha Logy is musically interesting in its own way. It's one of, if not the, most mature, jazzy and rocky sounding Atelier soundtracks. You'll hear a lot of real guitar, bass and drums. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think Logy's tracks in the game, like his workshop theme, are distinctly jazzier, while Escha's tracks are a little more cutesy and lively. It just works so well with their personalities. Here's an example of their contrasting workshop themes. here's an example of their contrasting battle themes. Atelier Shallie, the third game, is the most laid-back gameplay-wise and possibly the most directionless story-wise as well. Major plot points do happen and the stakes are raised at times, but somehow it just wasn't as memorable to me as the previous two games. It has a lot of hidden gems on the soundtrack. A certain octopus boss battle comes with a kick-ass theme to go with it. If you compare the instrumentation with Ayesha, it sounds a little more synthesized and almost cartoony at times. The woodwinds in particular obviously aren't real instruments but aren't trying to be. It's hard to explain, and maybe some people prefer this kind of style, but Ayesha's soundtrack is just bomb, and Escha Logy's is also very distinct and interesting. Oh my god, I have to mention the vocal themes and insert songs too, as there's a whole album full of them. They're all amazing. The Dusk trilogy seems to have the most vocal tracks compared to Arland, Mysterious and Riser. The songs feature some well-known singers such as Yanagi Nagi, who did an insert song in Atelier Ayesha, Kanako Ito, who did one of my favourite insert songs in Atelier Escha Logy, Haruka Shimotsuki, Matryoshka and others. One insert song from Atelier Shallie called Say You by Mimi Meme Mimi, sorry I'm not sure if I said that right, really caught my ear. So much emotion and a mix of cute English and Japanese lyrics. In summary, I feel like back when the Dusk trilogy was first released back on PlayStation 3, it was Gust's attempt at making a more true RPG-ish trilogy with more focus on combat and exploration. This made it more accessible to newcomers, but it also gave them way more scope to experiment with musical styles, instruments, and darker themes. Just compare it with this track from the earliest Arland trilogy game, Atelier Rorona. You can hear the difference. I love the direction Gust went in with the Dusk trilogy, particularly in Ayesha, and the experimentation in Escha Logy. Even the opening theme from Escha Logy is so rocky and different from any other Atelier OP. As I said already in my other video, if you need one reason to buy and play these games, it might as well be the soundtracks. If you're interested, please go check out my other review/rant/rave video too. Thanks for listening, bye!